Hello everyone. We were discussing differentiation in the last class. A few examples on differentiation which are useful for 12th physics. Note on this question. Why is sine of 4x plus 3? Let me first see how much you know. Get me dy upon dx. You must have seen this type of thing in oscillation in physics. We'll need this type of differentiation in 12th physics also, and therefore give it 30 seconds. If you can, then write down your answer in the comment box. Y is sine of 4x plus 3, and you need to find dy upon dx. Put down the question and try to answer it. Good, many of you answered correctly. Sine of 4x plus 3. How do you answer it? Those who could not, and in fact everyone should write this format. Y, if they give you y as sine of ax plus b in this form, then dy upon dx, differentiation of sine is what? Cos. So write down cos. And then multiply the whole thing with coefficient of x, which is a. Differentiation of sine, everybody knows, is what? Cos. Write down everything like this, cos of. And then coefficient of x, which is a, multiply the whole thing with a. Now, if you look at this function, differentiation of sine is what? Cos. And coefficient of x is what? 4. Multiply the whole thing with 4. And you get your answer. Now, when you are using this, we are fundamentally using chain rule. If somebody is interested in learning chain rule, after the class, just send me a message and I will give you a detailed lecture, which is a recorded lecture from 11th, where you can understand how to use chain rule in detail. But most of the time, you will face this type of thing, which is very elementary, use a direct formula, multiply by the coefficient of x. Remember only one thing, your x, remember, should have a power of 1 only. In ax plus b, power of x should be 1, then only you can use this formula. In fact, write down the statement. In ax plus b, power of x should be 1. Now again, suppose they give you y equals to e to the power 4 minus 3x. Now let's see how many of you can answer this thing. Y is e to the power 4 minus 3x. Write down dy by dx for this. Now again, what is the basic formula? Basic formula is y e to the power ax plus b. What is the differentiation? Dy upon dx. Dy upon dx is e to the power ax plus b. This is the format for e. That's how you differentiate e. And then coefficient of x, which is a. As long as power of x is what? 1 in ax plus b, which it is. And therefore, what is the answer for this? E to the power 4 minus 3x. Now remember, a is not 4. What is a? Coefficient of x. What is a? Coefficient of x, which is in this case minus 3. So you'll be multiplying with minus of 3. That's the answer. This is the basic format. E to the power ax plus b multiplied by coefficient of x. Let's see how many of you can answer this. Y is 1 upon e to the power 4 minus 3x. Y is 1 upon e to the power 4 minus 3x, and you need to answer dy upon dx. 1 upon e to the power 4 minus 3x, and I need dy upon dx. Write down your answer in the comment box. Now, very elementary thing, people get confused when they see 1 upon, they think that it's a very new format. No, nothing new about it. This is simply e to the power 3x minus 4. From denominator, transfer the whole thing to the numerator, and it becomes what? E to the power 3x minus 4. Negative of this power. And once you look at this, differentiation is very easy. E to the power 3x minus 4, e to the power 3x minus 4 multiplied by coefficient of x, which is 3. You need to convert this into this, and then we are using this formula. Note down this. Now, the way questions are asked in physics on this type, look here. Suppose I give you that charge Q. Q is what? Charge. Charge Q is 4 e to the power minus of 2t. Q is 4 e to the power minus of 2t. Q is charge, t is time. Question is, find out electric current I when time is 0 second. That means initially what is the electric current flowing in a circuit, you need to find that. Q, write down as a question, the whole thing. In a circuit, in an electric circuit, charge flowing through a resistor, charge flowing through a resistor is given by Q equals to 4 e to the power minus 2t. Find out initial electric current. Find out initial electric current. Try to answer this. Look, I hope you know that I is rate of flow of charge. If I say that electric current I is rate of flow of charge, which is dq by dt, then you simply need to differentiate it. This is your y and this is your x. Y, x. How do you differentiate? 4. You will keep this constant, it's already present. Differentiation of e to the power minus 2t is e to the power minus 2t multiplied by coefficient of t. So you will multiply by coefficient of t. Keep the 4 intact. Differentiation of e to the power minus 2t is e to the power minus 2t multiplied by coefficient of t. This is giving you minus of 8 e to the power minus of 2t. And now we need electric current at what time? When time is what? 0. So simply put t as 0. Simply put t as what? 0. This is minus of 8 e to the power 0. What is anything to the power 0? 1. And that gives you minus 8 into 1 or minus 8 amperes. That is the electric current flowing in the circuit initially when time is what? 0. That's how you will use differentiation in physics. Nobody will give you that y is e to the power 4x differentiated. That's how they don't ask you these questions. There will be a practical application. You have some information of charge, and charge is given as a function of time, and then they will ask you current in the circuit. Note down this. Now, write down graphical meaning of differentiation. I'm not going into detail. Let me tell you again this thing. I will give you a brief idea. If somebody is interested in detailed information, then as I told you, send me a WhatsApp request and I will give you a video lecture, a recorded video lecture where things have been explained in detail. Right here, I'm interested only in a fast revision of basic maths which we need from the very first chapter of electrostatics. So in that, the next thing is graphical meaning of differentiation. When I say graphical meaning of differentiation, before I start, let me see how many of you already know things like this. Suppose I give you charge q as a function of time t, and a graph of q versus t is given in this form. This is the graph. Beginning from this, you can see that charge is increasing. T increases, Q increases, you can see that. Now my question is, what about I? What about electric current I? Is it increasing or is it decreasing? I'll give you 30 seconds to figure out this. If you cannot, don't you worry, I will explain everything. But let me see first how many of you can answer this thing. You can see that with time charge is increasing. But the question is, what about electric current? Is it increasing or decreasing? You will write the answer in terms of increasing or decreasing. Look, over here. If I give you a graph between y and x, graphical meaning of differentiation. If you have a graph between y and x, any random shape you can take, let's say this is the shape of the graph, at any point on the graph, if you draw a tangent, this is a tangent, and this is your graph. Then, if you find theta from the positive side of x-axis, this is the negative side, this is the positive side. If you find theta from the positive side, then tan of theta gives you dy upon dx. So this is the graphical meaning of differentiation. Dy upon dx is tan of theta. This tan of theta is called slope of tangent. Now, once you have this information, we need I. What is I? I is dq divided by dt, rate of flow of charge, or differentiation of q with respect to t. So what we need? Information of I, whether it's increasing or decreasing. This q is just like y, and this t is just like x, and you have a graph. So if you go and plot a tangent, if you plot a tangent like this, that's the tangent. And of this tangent, if you find theta, if you find the theta, then this tan of theta will give you what? dq divided by dt. We are taking theta from the positive side. From the positive side anti-clockwise. We'll write the statement later, but as of now, just look at the graph. So at any point, if you draw a tangent and go for theta and find tan of theta, this is called slope of tangent, it will be dq by dt. Now what is dq by dt? I. So we have basically found value of electric current I, which is tan theta. Now ask yourself what is happening as t increases. As t increases means, let's say this is 2 seconds. You reach here, time becomes 3 seconds. As time increases, if you plot your tangent at this point and then you plot your tangent at this point, I hope you can see that your theta, this is the horizontal axis, this is the tangent. Blue marker is the tangent and black marker is your horizontal axis. This theta, as you climb up, you can see that is decreasing. Theta is decreasing over here. So when time increases, Q increases, but theta is decreasing. And you know that if theta decreases, tan theta decreases. What is tan theta? Current. And therefore, this is not the correct answer. Correct answer is what? I is decreasing. This is just to explain the way things happen, otherwise it's very fast. You will look at the graph, what is I dq by dt, what is that? Slope. Slope is decreasing, and immediately you will say that current is decreasing. Note down this, and especially note down this part. And those of you who could not answer it, if they have understood it, then write down yes in the comment box. And if you haven't understood, then write down no in the comment box. write down the statement. How to take theta? For that, write down the statement. Theta is always taken. Theta is always taken from the positive side of horizontal axis. Theta is always taken from the positive side of horizontal axis in anti-clockwise manner. In anti-clockwise manner. This type of thing we'll see in capacitors. When you charge a capacitor, if you have heard thing capacitor or condenser, when charging of capacitor takes place, it's something like this. Just important information is what? Theta is always taken from the positive side of the horizontal axis. That's the negative side, this is the positive side. That's the positive side, this is the negative side. We do not take theta like this. No, we do not take theta from this side. We always take it from the positive side anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise. Now, let's talk about integration. And again, remember what I am telling you. I am telling you that we are interested in a fast mathematical revision, not a detailed one. So whenever we need this much information in brief, you can always go through these notes. If you need detailed information, I've told you what to do. Write down integration. Now, everybody knows what integration is. Just to give you an elementary idea, if we have a rod of length L and you cut this rod into small length segments. If you cut this rod, let's say you have a rod like this, and you cut it into smaller pieces, then this piece, its length is dl1. D means something which is very, very small. This length is dl2, this length is dl3, and so on. So, if I say find out dl1 plus dl2 plus dl3 plus dl4 and all these lengths, all the small lengths, if you add all these small lengths, everybody can see that it will be what? L. If you have a rod of this much length, and I say that I have cut the whole rod into two parts, if you add this length and this length, you will get what? Original length. So this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this is what? L. Now, how many dls are present from this position to this position? Infinite. Why? Because dl, its length is what? Very, 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 very small. This is your dl. No. Make it small, smaller, 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 smaller. Keep decreasing the length. Keep decreasing the length. I hope you cannot even see it, but since I can see, I still decreasing it. If you keep on decreasing this, so this length is what? Extremely small. Theoretically smaller than the atom. Theoretically smaller than the electron. Anything which is close to zero is your dl. So you get infinite such small lengths, and therefore we are not interested in writing all the infinite terms. Instead, we write the whole thing as integration of dl. This is the basic idea behind integration. Integration of dl is what? L. Remember this simple line. Integration of dl is L. So if I ask you what is integration of dx, you will say x. If I ask you what is integration of dy, you will say y, and so on. This is the basic idea behind integration. Note down first this much information. Now, I will give you a very elementary derivation of integration just to develop interest, and then we'll simply use all the standard ways, standard formulas. So if somebody says that integrate dx, straightforward. Answer is what? X. Integration of dl is what? L. Replace L with x, and you get integration of dx as what? X. Fundamental part. But if someone says integrate cos x dx, if I ask you what is integration of this, then integration starts from differentiation. How do we do that? Look here. Nobody will ask you this derivation in physics, but if you remember it, you will feel more comfortable. Y, if is sine x, then everybody knows what is dy upon dx. If y is sine x, then you know that dy upon dx is what? Cos x. Which means what is dy? dy is cos x dx. Cross multiply, dy is what? Cos x dx. You need to integrate cos x dx. But what is cos x dx? Cos x dx is what? Dy. Write down dy. Now, what is the integration of dy? Y. If it is in this form, dl, L, dx, x, dy, y. So integration of dy is what? Y. But what's the value of y? Sin x. So we have got the integration of cos x as what? Sin x. Now you need to remember, I need you to remember that cos x, its integration is what? Sin x, which I hope you already know. But that's how you arrive at this is also something, if you can remember, will be beneficial. Note down the approach. Nobody will ask you this approach in physics, but if you remember it, if you know it, I told you that you will feel comfortable in physics. Now, once you know that integration of cos x is sin x, just to understand whether your mathematical level and all, let me see what is the integration of cos 3x dx. Write down the answer in the comment box. It will give me an idea that how many of you are comfortable with this type of maths. If you are not, don't you worry. They are very elementary things. I will help you throughout. You don't have to worry. Right now I'm interested in finding how many of you can answer this. So if I need integration of cos x, answer is sin x. But if I say integration of cos of 3x, then what should be the answer? Write down the answer in the comment box. Well, not a single correct answer. Nobody has answered this thing correctly. Look, cos x, its integration is what? Sin x. Now remember this. Cos of ax plus b, and these are basic integrations. We will need these type of things in physics. And therefore, from now onwards, remember this lecture. Once the lecture is complete, prepare proper notes. Just don't rely on screenshots. Take proper notes. If instead of cos x they give you cos of ax plus b type of thing, then integration is what? Sine of ax plus b, standard integration, but you need to divide whole thing with coefficient of x. In differentiation, we multiply. In integration, we divide the whole thing. Again, power of x in ax plus b should be 1, like this. Sine of ax plus b, the standard formula, sine. What is the integration of cos? Sine. And then divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. This question is what? This is cos 3x. What will be the answer? Sine of 3x. But then don't forget to divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. Coefficient of x is what? 3. As long as inside cos your power of x is 1, you can always use this type of version. Divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. Note down this. And then answer this part. What is the integration of sine of 4 minus 3x? Note down everything and then try to answer this question. Sine of 4 minus 3x. So first of all, remember what is the integration of sine. Sine, differentiation of sine is what? Cos. But integration of sine is what? Minus cos. Remember this part. If you remember this, then this is nothing special. You will do what? You will do what? Integration of sine is what? Minus of cos So integration of sine is what? Minus of cos, and then sine of 4 minus 3x. Its integration is what? Minus of cos 4 minus 3x. Minus of cos 4 minus 3x, but divide the whole thing with coefficient of x, which is minus of 3. Negative, negative cancel, and your answer is cos of 4 minus 3x divided by 3. That's the answer. Standard formula, and then divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. Go down this and answer this. What is the integration of dx upon e to the power 2 plus 5x? Let's see how many of you can answer this. Dx upon e to the power 2 plus 5x. This e type of thing is very much useful in 12th, and therefore give it 30-40 seconds if you are a bit confused. Dx upon e to the power 2 plus 5x. You need to write integration of this part. First of all, try to remember what is the basic format of E type of integration. Standard formula which you have been taught in 11th. And then just divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. So, I hope you remember e to the power x dx, its integration is what? E to the power x. That's how you find integration. Which means if somebody gives you e to the power ax plus b, if somebody gives you this e to the power ax plus b, then what? This is e to the power ax plus b divided by coefficient of x. As long as power of x is 1. Now, right now this is not e to the power a plus bx or ax plus b. You need to shift this thing from denominator first. And once you shift it, it becomes what? E to the power this is the first step. Shift it from denominator into the numerator. Now, once you have shifted, this is the same thing. What is the integration? Write down the whole part divided by, not the first term. When I write ax plus b, people think that we are dividing with the first term. No. I always say divide by what? Coefficient of x. What is coefficient of x? It's not 5, it's minus 5. That's the answer. Note down this and answer this. Find out integration of dx upon 3 plus 4x. First note down this and then answer this. Dx upon 3 plus 4x. Just try to remember what was the standard version. If you have seen things like this before, something like this before, x to the power minus 1, which is dx upon x, 1 upon x, then its integration is log base e x. In short, ln x. This is the standard part which I hope you know. If you do not, write down this, and I again give you 30 seconds to answer that part. Note down this and then answer that question. If someone gives you dx upon ax plus b type of thing, in the denominator if you have x, then integration is what? Ln ax plus b whole divided by coefficient of x. What is coefficient of x? A. Standard formula, remember it, and then if your question is in the form of ax plus b, divide by the coefficient of x. This is dx upon 3 plus 4x. So the answer is what? You see x in the denominator. Once I see x in the denominator, answer is ln of 3 plus 4x divided by, not 3, coefficient of x, which is 4. So you just need to remember the standard form. And this thing is important for 12th. Write down important. You will find many times in integration this version dx upon ax plus b. Don't forget it. Put on this and then that part. If you have understood this log integration, then write down yes in the comment box. If you are confused, you can always write down no, or you can say that, explain it once again, sir. And one of the very basic one which you all must be familiar with is this. Four x minus 6 root over dx. Root over 4x minus 6 dx. Square root of 4x minus 6 dx. Let's see how many of you will answer this. Remember, we are only interested in fast revision. For detailed knowledge, you know what to do. First thing, remove the root sign. How do you remove the root sign? This is 4x minus 6 to the power of dx. This should be the first step, 4x minus 6. And then you need to remember this. If they give you x to the power n, which is the very first integration you are taught, x to the power n, then this is x to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1. Provided n is not minus 1. Don't forget to write this. Because when n is minus 1, we just saw, when n is minus 1, it becomes 1 upon x, which gives us log x. So, If you have this information and somebody gives you integration of ax plus b type, ax plus b, remember this format, ax plus b. If somebody gives you ax plus b type of integration, you will do what? Ax plus b to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. Normal thing. N plus 1 divided by n plus 1. And then you must divide the whole thing with coefficient of x, which is 8. Which is 8. Provided n is not minus 1. You have the basic version and then you have the ax plus b version. You remember this? This is again repetition. Divide the whole thing with coefficient of x. So when you start integrating this part, you get what? You look for the power. You look inside. What is this format? Ax plus b. Okay, what is the power? Half. Is it minus 1? No. That means I can use this format. What is the integration? 4x minus 6 power plus 1 divided by power plus 1, and then divide the whole thing with coefficient of x, which is 4. This is coming 4x minus 6 to the power 3 by 2. 1 by 2 plus 1 is what? 3 by 2. Divided by, this is 3 by 2, 2 and 4, 2 times 3 into 2, 6. After simplification, this is 1 by 2 plus 1, which becomes 3 by 2, 2 and 4, 2 times cancel, 3 into 2, that gives you what? 6. This 6 and this 6, no, it's not this 6, it's coming after simplification of the denominator. That's the answer. Don't forget to write this. Always remember, when you are using n plus 1, when you are using n plus 1 type of integration, your n should not be minus 1. When n is minus 1, we just saw that integration is of log type. Put down this. Now write down use of limits in physics. How to use limits in physics? How to use limits in physics? And when you are given an integration, then how must you write the values of, how to calculate an integration where you have been given limits. First, let me see how much you already know. So if I give you cos theta d theta. This is theta d theta. And I say that theta 0 to theta 90. Then, before I provide you the answer, let me see how many of you already know how to use these basic limits. Theta 90, theta 0. This is called lower limit. This is called lower limit. And this is your upper limit. Remember, the thing which is present with D, we use limit with that. Theta, 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 theta. Had it been cos x dx, I would be using x, x. Let's see how many of you answer this. Good. Everybody has answered correctly. What is the integration of cos sine? Remember, differentiation is minus, but integration is what? Plus. Once you do this, we use square brackets, large brackets. Write down 0, write down 90. You can use theta like this, or you can simply say 0 and 90. Then sine theta, replace it with upper limit. Sine of 90 minus, write down sine again, theta, lower limit. What is sine 90? 1. What is sine 0? 0. And your answer is what? 1. 1. Now, the way questions are asked in physics, let's take an idea of that. We have been given that I, current flowing through a resistor, is given by e to the power minus of 3t. Current flowing through a resistor is given by e to the power minus 3t. Question is, how much charge flows through the resistor in first 4 seconds? Write down the question. Current flowing through a resistor is given by I equals to e to the power minus 3t. I equals to e to the power minus 3t. How much charge flows through that capacitor, that resistor? How much charge flows through that resistor in first 4 seconds. Let's see how many of you can answer this question. It will take 1 minute to answer it. In first 4 seconds, how much charge is flowing through a resistor? That's the question is asking. You have a resistor, current is I, which is given by that. The question says, from t equals to 0 to t equals to 4, between this, what is the Q that is flowing? Total charge that flows through the resistor in first 4 seconds. You should interpret the question in this form. Lower limit, upper limit. Now let's see how many of you will answer it. Do it first. What is I? dq upon dt. You start from this. You write I as what? dq divided by dt, which is e to the power minus 3t. Then dq e to the power minus 3t dt. Question is asking you q, but this is dq. You will bring your question from this stage to this stage. Now the only thing is you need to remove d, which is called integration. Let's see how many of you answer it. Let's see how many of you can answer this question now. Everything is on the board. This is dq equals to e to the power minus 3t. You will go for integration. You will go for integration. Integration of dq q e to the power minus 3t e to the power minus 3t divided by coefficient of t, which is minus 3. E to the power x, e to the power x, e to the power ax plus b, you divide by the coefficient. And then question says you need to integrate the whole thing from 0 second to 4. Lower limit, upper limit, lower limit, upper limit. And how do you put limits? How do you put limits? This is q. This is the integration of e to the power minus 3t, square bracket, lower limit, upper limit. First, write down the upper limit. E to the power minus 3 into 4 minus e to the power minus 3 into lower limit 0, and whole thing is already, you have to use minus 3. Upper minus, same thing, lower. This is e to the power minus 12. What is e to the power 0? 1 divided by minus 3, which is 1 minus e to the power minus 12 divided by 3. This is a negative sign, shift it. That's the answer. 1 minus e to the power minus 12 divided by 3. Go down this much and then you can leave. Thank you very much.